What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. This video is gonna be a legendary banner review for Lilina's legendary banner and also a review for her. So I was really not expecting Lilina to be a legendary hero, and obviously she is a fire pair-up legendary hero. She's a red mage cavalier, and because of the pair-up mechanic, she's gonna be able to score high in arena despite being a mage cavalier. So she's definitely a unit you'll face quite a bit in arena and arena assault in the fire seasons. As for her weapon, she's got a 14 might tome called Studied Foreblaze. So this gives her -1 special cooldown, basically like a slaying tome, and it also has quick pulse built into it, so it reduces the special charge by 1 at start of turn 1, and at start of combat if she's above 25% HP, then she gets +6 attack and resistance, and also gets the Hardy Bearing effect. Now, this effect is extremely easy to trigger, just need her to be not at very low HP and you get free attack and resistance and the Hardy Bearing effect. Hardy Bearing is definitely pretty nice for dealing with Vantage, Desperation mainly, and of course Irvan's Force Desperation, but she's not really going to be able to double a Brave Ike, and a well-built Brave Ike is still going to be able to tank her, but you could always run like Axe Breaker. So Hardy Bearing has got a lot of usage in Aether Raid specifically, for dealing with the Vantage sweepers and stuff like that. This tome is really amazing because it not only reduces the special cooldown but also gives you the quick pulse effect. So you could have a 2-turn special pre-charged at the start of the map, and if you run quick pulse Sacred Seal, then you could even use like 3-turn specials like Iceberg, which she is a really good user of. Her special is Gifted Magic, which is definitely gonna be an exclusive special, I feel like. So this is basically a weaker version of an AoE special, but it does have lower cooldown, so she can basically have this pre-charged at the start of a map because of her tome. So the reason why this is weaker is because its damage multiplication is only by 0.8 instead of 1.5 like the other AoE specials, which are really strong. So she's not really going to be doing that much damage with this, especially to high resistance units, compared to the other AoE specials like Blazing Wind and stuff like that. She's got Attack Res Solo, and Attack Res Solo isn't the most optimal slot A because keep in mind the AoE specials work based off the visible attack. The AoE special is not going to be including the extra attack she gets from her weapon and the solo skill into the AoE attack. So you need visible attack for having more AoE damage, and Attack Res Solo doesn't really do that. Sabotage Resistance on the other hand does have good synergy with an AoE special, and she also has Pulse Smoke. Pulse Smoke because I feel like she could be used in Aether Raid's offense as a kamikaze unit. You go in and you just Pulse Smoke the opponent's team, which is really good if they are running an infantry pulse team, of course, and with the AoE special you could damage multiple enemies, and this is basically what they've shown. Like, she attacks Levitain here and she's probably gonna get sacked, but they don't have any mythic but you get what I mean, right? So basically just use her as a kamikaze unit in Aether Raid's offense to smoke down the infantry pulse teams, do some chip damage with the AoE special, and basically dance her and get another kill and just leave her there and just make a sack play, because you don't really lose lift if you have a bonus mythic on your team if you lose one unit. So she could be used as a unit for that. And now let's go over some of the build options which you could have. So in my opinion, legendary Lilina is a strong unit, but she's not really absurdly strong or a must-have legendary unit. We have gotten like much powerful legendary heroes. The main thing is that her stat spread is pretty predictable, as you would expect, like very high attack, high resistance, and very low speed and very low defense. So pretty much everyone is going to be doubling her, and any kind of strong physical attack can take her out. And these are her confirmed stats because we do see her stats in the Aether Raid's clip, which they show in the trailer. Lilina's playstyle is basically of a nuke, just go in, do a lot of damage with her pre-charged AoE special, and just get added there. She could also be used as a mage tank, but she's still going to be getting doubled by, you know, most mages who are fast. As I mentioned before, her base kit isn't really all that synergetic with her preferred AoE special because it requires visible attack stats, so you would have to run something like Fury, which could increase the activation of Sabotage as well as giving you more AoE damage, or you could also run Life and Death, but then at that point you're going to be compromising her fantastic resistance, and attack stat is basically going to be the thing which she's going to be excelling at. So it can be a bit awkward. And you could run the new attack res unity, and in Ether Raids, ARD attack res is gonna be a very strong skill, and she's gonna be hitting like really hard. So she could be used outside of an infantry pulse team in Ether Raids, still having the pre-charge special. Now, for her slot B, Sabotage Resistance is pretty nice for budget because it does help you with the extra AoE damage by reducing the resistance of the foes. But Lull Attack Resistance is also really amazing and the optimal slot B option. Attack Res Ruse is also something which you could run. Vantage on budget can also work because she does have pretty respectable attack stat for a mage, and you could run Axe Breaker to basically deal with units like Brave Ike, or to double stuff like Legendary Edelgard or Brave Edelgard and not get doubled back. Quick Riposte can also be run if you just want to use her as a mage tank, and she doesn't really have any means of doubling other than Quick Riposte. For slot C, Pulse Smoke is good for kamikaze plays in Ether Raid's offense, but otherwise Rouse Attack, Resistance, Savage Blow, and Resistance Smokes are pretty good options. And you could run other specials like Glimmer or Moonbow, and they can definitely be a pretty nice option. Iceberg and Luna, the 3-turn specials, could be run with a Quicken Pulse Sacred Seal, as I mentioned before, so they can hit really hard if you're not really trying to increase her AoE damage output. Her exclusive special is pretty decent. It's not really too good because, as I said, the damage multiplication is quite weaker compared to the normal AoE specials. Lilina has a pretty straightforward playstyle of hitting extremely hard with her pre-charge special, and it's not really easy to have pre-charge specials on these kinds of cavalry units, so her weapon definitely helps her a ton with that and definitely makes her a bit unique in that regard. We don't really have too many Red Mage Cavaliers. Her main competition is Mage Erica and Duo Sigurd. Duo Sigurd does have high attack and high resistance similar to her, but overall she could hit harder because of the pre-charge special that she could have, especially Iceberg. I think I'm a bigger fan of that with Quicken Pulse Sacred Seal because with her high resistance she can hit really hard with that. As for fodder, she has got Pulse Smoke, which is definitely highly valued for Ether Raid's offense to be run on tanks so that you could deal with infantry pulse teams and pre-charge specials, so that is definitely going to be really valuable. Attack Res Solo is also present there along with Sabotage Resistance. You cannot really inherit a lot of these skills at the same time, so I'm mainly going to be rating this based on Pulse Smoke, which is a very useful skill. And now let's go over the other units from this banner. So we have got Reginn. And Reginn has been a free-to-play unit from Book 5, so everyone has her, but in case you want to get merges on her for Ether Raid's offense, then she's definitely going to be a unit that you could pull for because the red color is definitely pretty stacked. And if not, then she also has really good fodder in Swiss Power 3, Lull Speed Defense, and Panic Smoke. You could inherit 2 of those skills at the same time by having Swiss Power 2 on your unit beforehand from something like a Nesala or Winter Felix. So Reginn is absolutely busted free-to-play unit. The Kanto Inner Lingathier is so strong for hit and run strategies in Ether Raids, and I did show some of that in my full review of her, what you could do with her with many different playstyles, and I have used her this last week for Astra season and she's absolutely amazing. Sather Shell is a special which gives you nice burst damage output, and it also has the adaptive damage, so that can be really good. But in my opinion, she is better off using something like Gale Force because she's really amazing with Gale Force and Kanto. The amount of movement you have is absolutely insane, and pretty much looks like something you shouldn't be having in FEH. So incredibly powerful and useful unit, and really good fodder as well. The next unit we have in the red pool is Plumeria. Plumeria is still the best Astra Mythic in my opinion, even though Reginn does exist, because Reginn doesn't really give you the support as Plumeria can with her dance, and Plumeria's dance can also give the debuffs on the foes, which can definitely be pretty helpful. So Plumeria also has kind of similar stat spread to Lilina if you actually look at it, which allows her to deal with Reseer pretty easily, and she is just a fantastic dancer, and having a dancer as your mythic unit just opens up a slot because the mythic unit is there to do their role and also for doing the role of a dancer, so couldn't recommend Plumeria enough. Of course, she is not as good as Peony because Peony's Orders buff is incredibly powerful with Gentle Dream. Plumeria doesn't really give you that. She gives you the debuffs, which still can be pretty useful, and definitely a unit that can make your Astro runs much easier if you don't already have her. And 2 Plumerias can be used with Reginn and a Brave Bow Cavalier to just have hit and run strategies, which is so amazing. So very useful Astro Mythic unit. Now the green pool is also really good. The first unit we have is Brave Edelgard. In my opinion, she is the best axe armor present in the game. Flower Alt Clear is such a powerful weapon, just solving her movement issue. So she's got better movement than even the infantry units because of Flower Alt Clear, and she doesn't really require Armor March or anything like that. This also gives her extra bulk and extra firepower because of the in-combat debuffs you could get with it. So incredibly powerful weapon overall, and also gives you -1 special cooldown, so you could retaliate back with 1-turn specials, and you could also run Gale Force, even though Legendary Edelgard does do the Gale Forcing a bit better. Black Eagle Rule is also a very powerful preferred skill because it gives you free follow-up, and that's really amazing for a slow unit like Edelgard, and you can get guaranteed follow-ups in both phases. However, the damage reduction that she gets, which is 80% on the second hit of the enemy, is only going to be active in the enemy phase. So dealing with her is basically going to be you baiting her out so that she doesn't really get the damage reduction. But still, she's a very tanky unit. She has got amazing min-max stat spread with low speed and really good bulk on both spectrums with high attack stat. She has got best movement out of any kind of armor unit. Hell, I would say that she has got better movement than even the infantry units. So Brave Edelgard is a very powerful unit, no surprise about that. Sadly, her fodder is really lackluster. Distant Ward is simply outclassed by Distant Counter most of the times, and she herself uses Distant Counter much better than this slotted skill. Joint Drive Res is definitely a pretty decent skill because Joint Drives are just so universally useful, but still this is going to be used less than Joint Drive Attack or Joint Drive Speed. Legendary Celica is a very powerful green mage because she has got the Saintly Seraphim, which gives her true damage based on the resistance of the foe, so she can pretty much cut through the resistance, similar to how her husband Alm cuts through the defense. But of course, Legendary Alm is much better because of being an archer and colorless unit, but still Celica is a very powerful unit. Soul of Zofia has got Null Follow-Up built into it as well as Desperation, and Null Follow-Up is a very useful skill in this kind of metagame where so many units have their cheating auto-double skills and so many skills which can prevent your follow-up attacks. She's also a really good unit to take care of a meta threat like Brave Hector, who is a very powerful lance armor unit. Celica does have pretty good fodder as well in Susparo 3 and Attack Speed Oath, which you could inherit at the same time. The final green unit we have on this banner is Jill. So Jill is the best axe flyer in the game in my opinion because of how good her weapon is and how good her stat spread is. She's also the best Wyvern Flight user overall in my personal opinion because she doesn't really have any kind of opportunity cost compared to other Wyvern units who would like to use the skill, but they have to give up either Quick Riposte or some kind of other skill. Jill doesn't really have to do that. Talrican Axe is absolutely busted weapon, giving her -1 special cooldown, and in the player phase she's always going to be having +6 attack and speed from that weapon, as well as an instant desperation or hell even dive bomb from that weapon. So it just frees up her slot B skill. She doesn't really have to run desperation or worry about falling into the desperation range. She could be a very powerful Gale Force unit because it's quite easy to trigger heavy blade checks with her due to her high attack stat and the fact that she could get even more attack. So Jill is a player phase monster and a very good Gale Force unit, an amazing user of Wyvern Flight if you do have it. Her fodder is also stellar with having attack speed push 4 and speed defense rain, which you could inherit at the same time, and any kind of offensive flyer is going to be appreciating that. Now we start with the colorless pool. So we have got Brave Claude here. Brave Claude is an incredibly versatile unit because of Wind Parthia. Wind Parthia gives him -1 special cooldown and healing half of his max HP every time he triggers his special, and some more extra stats. The conditions to meet that weapon is extremely easy, and the self-healing is just absolutely incredible. It actually beats out stuff like Ether and actual healing assist skills from healers because of how good it is. So you just have to HP stack on him, which is possible with Mythic and Legendary Blessings. So having more HP is always going to be good for Claude, and the healing that he can get can offset the damage from Fury and even other skills like attack speed push 4. So he can be a self-sufficient unit overall, but still this does make like an awkward synergy with stuff like Vantage and Desperation, those kinds of skills. So he doesn't really have too many slot B options left if you're not going to be running those things. Claude can function in both phases because of his weapon, and at higher investment he can definitely function as a close foil tank, but you would always have to run Iod Shield Sacred Seal because he's going to be susceptible to archers. Claude's fodder is also really good, having Fury 4 and attack speed rain, which you could inherit at the same time. Bramimond is one of the most powerful defensive mythic units in Ether raids in general, and in the Dark Season I would say that he is the best mythic. Even though we do have a Dancer in Triandra available, I personally still think that Bramimond is a force to be reckoned with and he's never to be underestimated. With his Void Tome, he can get an auto double and extra stats so easily, it's absolutely absurd. So if you want to tank him in the Light Season, Null Follow Up is absolutely a compulsory skill which you need to have. Because if you don't have Null Follow Up, then Bramimond is going to double you and he's probably going to trigger his special and take you out. Bramimond's bulk is also pretty respectable for a range mage because he has got attack defense push 4, lull, attack resistance, and impenetrable dark. Impenetrable dark is a really good way of shutting down tanks that may try to tank your Ether raids defense team. So it basically removes any kind of supportive skills that they might have from an ally like a Brave Lilina or Male Quarren, and basically fight them with their actual stats. Even if they have buffs, you're still going to be ignoring those to attack and resistance with his lull skill. So he's overall a very strong unit to be used in Ether raids defense, and even outside of that, just for in-game content, he's also a very strong unit. He's a colorless mate, so he doesn't really have any kind of weapon strangle disadvantage except for the Raven Tomes, so that allows him to nuke really well. So a really solid Ether raids defense mythic unit if you don't already have him. It's actually really funny how Duma's value seems to go up as we get more and more into the metagame, especially in Ether raids, because Duma is basically a max level catapult because of upheaval, and that allows you to shatter the offensive structures of your opponents wherever you park him. It's mainly optimal to have him parked in lane 3 or lane 4, and you could use a max level catapult so you could cover both of the lanes of the enemies, and that has a really high chance of smashing their healing tower or bolt tower. Bolt tower specifically because it's such an oppressive tool for Ether raids offense structures, so Duma has a lot of usage with that. However, he does have movement problem because of being an armor unit and the fact that people can run Naga who has got Divine Fang, so that is definitely a bit annoying, but he could still be used as a Wings of Mercy nuke, and he will hit incredibly hard with that. Of course, he could run distant counter Vantage at higher investments, so that's also an option, but overall he has become a pretty decent unit that could be used in Ether raids offense, and many teams would love to use him because of his upheaval and the fact that he could smash bolt towers. So a very useful unit in Ether raids offense, but outside of that, he is nothing really too special, but still, like, Fell Breath is gonna be preventing the doubles of the foes, which is decent, but still you would need some investment to use him outside of that. His fodder isn't really all that great. Bullfighter is dirt common on any kind of armor unit, so it doesn't really incentivize you too much to get the fodder that he has got, and defense for solo is also not the greatest. And now we start with the blue pool this time. So the strongest unit out of the blue pool is going to be Brave Dimitri. So he's a pretty good unit because of Moon Kratavis being a distant counter weapon that also accelerates its special based on the attacks of the enemy. So you can basically retaliate back with 2-turn specials like Noontime. And Blue Lion Rule is a pretty nice skill because it provides them with damage reduction, and that too defense-based damage reduction, which is definitely pretty unique when we have got so many speed-based damage reduction skill. So what that allows you to do is basically have more damage reduction against extremely fast offensive threats, but at the same time against very high attack bulky units, you're not going to be getting that much damage reduction. So it has its pros and cons, but definitely quite unique. He does have workable speed, so the best way of using him is basically speed stacking on him so that he doesn't get doubled, and that can pretty much effectively increase his longevity and his overall bulk. Definitely one of the better Lance infantry units that we've got, but he does have competition quite a bit with legendary Dimitri, who can function in both phases, who also has damage reduction and can also get true damage, but this damage reduction is of course speed based. Brave Dimitri's fodder is also pretty good with attack defense unity and joint hone attack, so you could inherit both of those skills at the same time. Joint hone attack isn't really all that good compared to something like joint drive attack, but still it's something, and attack defense unity can definitely be pretty good in a metagame where debuffs are extremely common. Gatrie has got pretty min-max stat spread to make him a pretty nice tank. He's got extremely low speed and high defense and resistance. However, the thing is that Lance armors do face competition from the Titan known as Brave Hector, just because of the sheer amount of effects that he has got in his malted weapon refine. He's just such a powerful Lance armor unit, and it's really hard for armor units like Gatrie to really compare to him, especially when we recently got a 4-star focus unit in Hilda, who is much easily mergeable. But that's not to say that Gatrie is a bad unit. He's still a pretty good armor unit with min-max stat spread, having high attack and pretty nice mixed bulk. Gatrie's fodder is pretty decent in Fortress Defense Res. Crafty Fighter is also a skill which you could fodder him off for, but a lot of times there are some other alternate options which you could go for the fighter skills. Fortress Defense Res though is a pretty nice option. The final unit on this banner is going to be Peony, the free dancer, which everyone has, so there's really not going to be much incentive for people to pull for her unless you really care about mythic merges in ether raids, because she doesn't really have very good fodder. Aerobatics is going to be the most useful skill because it's still 5-star locked for some reason, and Fortress Resistance, even though it's a tier 4 skill, it's not really all that good compared to the other tier 4 support skills. Still, despite that, Peony is the best mythic unit for offense overall because of the utility that she brings with her dance and the orders buff that she could give with the Gentle Dream. That allows for such amazing movement flexibility and options with your units. So Peony is a very strong offensive mythic unit in Ether Raid's offense, and just in general as a dancer, she is really good because of her Gentle Dream buff. Overall, this is a pretty stacked banner in my opinion. The red pool is really good, especially if you care about mythic merges and if you want to get Lilina. If you don't really care about those two things, then green color is going to be the strongest for you because of Brave Edelgard and legendary Celica. Colorless is also pretty good because of Brave Claude and Bramimond. And the weakest color in my opinion is probably going to be blue, because Peony kind of does bring down the fodder value. Gatrie is a pretty decent unit but not the strongest and not the most desired unit, I would say. Brave Dimitri is still pretty nice and has good fodder. So overall a pretty good banner in my opinion. Red color and green color are going to be the main focus of many people. Keep in mind we're still going to be getting a New Year's banner, so look out for that. We're going to be knowing about that pretty soon hopefully. Let me know in the comments what you think about this legendary banner, and be sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of pulling for Lilina or just summoning on this legendary banner. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Athos when he came to know that Lilina got another 4-blaze tome. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.